What's going on, guys? How good was Jess Fox today? Yeah, gotta love that. Gonna just chuck this one in the group, and then we'll, hopefully get a few questions rolling through. And probably like most times, we'll look to go for like an hour. The teams are out, so I'll talk about those in a second, which is great. As you'll see in about 20 minutes, a big week for Shorty. Supercoach Draft Grand Final against one of my best mates. So it's all happening. Let me just post this one. Kill. Alrighty, let's get stuck into it. Yeah, it was if you saw my Here I Am Going Live video, I was pounding to get through the traffic and eventually did. Got home, watched Fox claim the gold, which was awesome. I've been really getting around the Olympics actually. I'm no massive soccer fan or swimming fan or rowing fan, but when you've got the Aussies in action, it's hard to not get around it. So I might just bring the teams up. I'll get to your questions straight away, but I think maybe once we get the audience pumping up a little bit more, we might just roll through the teams. Had a quick glance before, didn't seem to be anything too crazy. But Tyler, what's going on, mate? Yeah, they're going real good. Plenty of golds in the pool, which is great, and even a few that maybe we just got. We're always pretty good in the rowing, but even still, we won a couple that other countries had a stranglehold on. Would have been great to get the 4x200 relay today. I know we're big favourites, finished third, but can't be complaining at the moment. Aussie Tiger, how are you, mate? With Thomas being out, got Donut in my forward line, but Mills is back and Langford are back. Yeah. Do you think Steele as VC and McRae as C option? Yeah, it's definitely good to have those guys back. Just looking at the captain's options, on Friday, you could definitely go Steele. I mean, hey, you could go Walsh as well if you like. I know you mentioned McRae, but look, Max Gawn, all right, he hasn't been in amazing form, but Gold Coast, they're a pretty weak ruck department. You'd have to consider him. And Grundy, probably not so much. Taking on Nick Nat is never easy. And statistically has always been good without pumping out the massive ones. But, yeah, the Dogs against the Crows, I think you're always a good chance to get some good scores. And, look, McRae, he absolutely loves it down in Ballarat. There's no doubt about that. His stats don't lie. Loves it. And Tyler, speaking of how good Ratha went off this weekend, did he ever? He was huge, clunking him, wasn't he? I hope he can keep doing that. He was looking very dangerous, very dangerous. Aussie Tiger says, do you think Richmond can beat Fremantle at Optus this week with Fife and Walters out, as we might be a sneaky chance? This one's about as 50-50 of a tip as you'll get, and I wanted to see the teams, and look, with those two guys out, I mean, you definitely would have written the Dockers off last year with that Cordova injury. This year, I think it just gives Chera more opportunity. I think it gives Sarong more of an opportunity to play an offensive role. So it's not as big of a loss as once upon a time it was for the Dockers. Potentially just as big a loss is Alex Pearce. Him going out is pretty massive. So it's tough at Optus. It always is. I'm not sure who I'll tip there, but yeah, the teams, they will have definitely done you a few favours. There's no doubt about that. Amusement Productions. There you go, mate. Oh, yeah, I forgot AFL exists. Go Aussies. Yeah, it's been a bit like that, I must say. Most of our weeks, I'm sure you guys are a bit the same out there. A lot of our weeks normally centre around footy news and keeping up with the shows. Mine's just been smack bang on Channel 7, 7 2, 7 Mate. I've actually, been loving it. Hockey, rowing, volleyball, soccer, just whatever's on. You normally find some sort of interest. You know, it's such a big moment for whoever's out there. So I quite enjoy watching it. I was stoked to see Fox get home. Carl, Shortosaurus Rex. Most people feared apex predator in the Supercoach jungle. Shorty is to Supercoach what Jess Fox is to canoeing. Think we can all agree. Carl, you're one of my number one fans. What a legend. I appreciate the love there. Alistair, final upgrade this week. Would you go Marshall or Zorko? Probably Zorko. I just think, Marshall maybe the slightest of just concerns with the body, but I'll be bringing in Marshall this week, but I can't afford Zorko. So I honestly think there is about as good options as you'll get, but I'd probably, for your last upgrade, just slightly err to the side of Zorko, just on consistency, and he's been doing it all year. Carl's chimed in with a couple. If you had to pick one of these blokes for the run home, who would you be grabbing? Bont, McRae, or Touk Miller? And do you reckon Dunkley needs time to get up and running, or could you condone grabbing him this week? No, I would steer clear of Dunkley. Just, Beveridge just has a way about him where it's unpredictable. He'll have some sort of role that might not be as normal. I'd just like to see. You're right. He'll be up and running pretty soon, but I wouldn't just bring him in straight up. Your initial question, I would probably go McRae. I mean, look, all of them, unless there's a financial thing or, look, if you had to grab one, I would go McRae. I just think he's, I think he's just the most consistent. He never gets tagged. I just think he's a ripper. But so are all three. So you're winning on all fronts. I'll just let a few questions just kind of develop, and I'll go through the teams. You boys out there have already mentioned a couple of interest. Mackay and Kerno come back, obviously not relevant for Supercoach, but very interesting on a football sense. Good to see Marshall and Highmore back. How about those for some ins? Hunter Clark, Higgins, and the two I just mentioned, some big ones there. Caulfield omitted. That's interesting. As we work down, James Jordan is out, but most will have offloaded him. Isaac Rankin dropped. That's quite an interesting story developing there, I'd imagine. Just isn't hitting the heights that we probably expected. Jeremy Howe is back for the Pies. Send some love my way. He's in my Supercoach draft team, and the timing is perfect. Let's hope he can get back some of his best. Poulter is out if anyone's sort of relying on him for some coverage. Langford, like someone mentioned, and Mills return in the Dons versus the Swans. In terms of other things there's nothing too interesting. Jimmy Rose back, but again, probably he's yesterday's hero. Dunkley is back. Ben Cunnington, we obviously wish him well. I don't think he's a major Supercoach player, but certainly wish him well in what he's going through. Taron Thomas, some may have gone with him for their forward replacements, and that would be stinging them right now. They'd definitely be hurting. Newcomb's back in if that's of interest, and lots of changes there for the Dockers, of course. Fife and Walters, who has just been a shadow of himself, hasn't he? Just hasn't been the same. Callum Coleman-Jones back in for the Tigers, and we still have one more game, and that is not overly interesting. Toby Green is back, and that's probably about all from a team's perspective. Interesting. A few bits and pieces for us to grab onto. But let me know if you're in classic finals, if you're in a draft final. I'd love to hear about it. I wish you all the best. I must admit my classic hopes, went down the drain some time ago, but my draft hopes are well and truly there. The trophy normally resides about there, but as you'll see in a video in about 10 minutes, It's just me and Langers just chewing the fat, really, discussing a few of our teams' best selections, a bit of banter. But yeah, we got the trophy happening in a bit of your AFL grand final parade style. So yeah, there's that. AFL amusement productions. What is your go-to Olympic sport? You'd be a water polo type of guy, surely. I do love watching the water polo. I love that. Far out, a bit goes on under the water, doesn't it? It gets pretty brutal. I mean, I love the swimming just for the build up and the hype. But in terms of watching, probably my number one is the hockey, I reckon. It's just something we don't normally see that often. I just love chucking that on. But, most things that have been on, there's some sort of interest. I don't mind the track and field. Like, I feel like it's so important to have the crowd there, and we're obviously not going to. I feel like it adds so much, like, particularly for the 100-meter sprint and that type of thing. But, yeah, there are probably a few that I've been checking out, mate. Corey, should I do Steele VC into McRae or Captain McRae or McRae VC into Gawn Captain? I go McRae into Gawn. I really think, I know it's easy to sort of, get absorbed in that he's a touch out of form, and he is, out of form. He's not at his absolute game-breaking best, and you can't score 150s all day, every day. Let's have a look at his stats. I mean, start of the year, insane. 130, well, round one was 93, 137, 163, 135, 172, 147. And then, his last five, 125 last week, obviously very good, 95, 102, 100, 103. Now, he's a superstar. You could say, oh, he's not in his best form, but I read it like, well, his big one's not too far away. This is a guy that's, he regularly, every 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks gets over 140. And I reckon the stars could align. I mean, I might just bring my side up and make those couple of changes as we speak. I'll bring Highmore in. Where's Lockie Jones at? He wasn't in the ins, was he? No. Nope. I'll bring in for Murphy. And that is that. And I will definitely leave the C on Gawn. And I might just do that as well. I might go McRae. Loves it down at Ballarat. Loves it. Ollie Clifford, how are you, mate? You saved my year with that Caleb Daniel pick last week. Cheers, Shorty. Oh, I'm pleased, mate. I'm pleased. He delivered, didn't he? 145. I'm happy to help. I do recall. That's right. We were sifting through the defenders under a certain price range, so we got a good one there. That's good to see. He's in my draft as well, actually, and he's had some funny weeks at times, Daniel, but just when he plays that kick behind the ball, that sort of loose roaming type, God, he's a freak. Absolute star. Corey, I'm happy Langford is back, as I didn't want to play Brockman on field. Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, doesn't it? Sometimes you're just hoping guys come back, or you got to plonk these rookies on the field. Can be a bit awkward. So I'll be much the same. Like at the moment, the back line's a bit of a struggle. I might be able to get some VC loophole action. I will, actually. I will just see what Tommy Highmore does. Give me a 60, Tom, and we'll be happy. And then if he does that or anything better, I'll put Jones on the field. But, yeah, otherwise, my midfield's looking lovely. Heppel's just doing nice things. And the forward line, wouldn't mind a bit more out of Bailey Dale. Steele Sidebottom might just get a lucky reprieve back into the middle with Pendlebury's absence. But, yeah, I'm still hoping to finish around the 20,000 mark, maybe top 20K, which I know is optimistic, but I've actually probably been making at least 2,000 ranks each week. I know it gets tougher as you get higher, but I'm about 30,000 right now. So that's the goal, still finish around 20,000 and salvage some respectability. So, but if I get the draft victory, Shorty will be a happy man. He'll be a happy man. I won it once back in 2017. Lost in the grand final last year, and that hurt. So will be looking to make amends. Carl, Steele VC into Gorn or Danger? No, I'd be sticking with Gorn. Look, honestly, this is the sort of game where Danger could just score like 100. I just don't know if it excites him that much. Geelong tend to just play crap football against these poor sides, and it's just a slog to watch. It's not pretty. I'd be more confident in seeing Gorn. Just like I said, there's not too many 5 or 6 week periods where he doesn't hit a 140. So I feel like it's due. Where are we? NJD, Shorty, does Steele and McRae sound all right? Yeah, definitely sounds good to me. If you're that way inclined, like I said, I mean, captain-wise, I'm going to sing the praises of Maxi Gawn, but that's definitely not taking anything away from Steele and McRae. One thing I would say, if you're looking to sort of climb the ranks or point of difference VCs, can be interesting. I'm not really a big believer in taking a massive risk on a captain, but sometimes a different VC can be handy. It can also be interpreted like you missed the boat on someone who's good, but Sam Walsh, he scored some whopping scores of late. Could be something to think about. Just it might be Miller, as well. Who else is sort of early in the round? Why not Clayton Oliver or Petrarca? They're names to think about, but it probably just depends how you're going. If you're up and about and going right, there's no need to take those sort of different options. But that's why I went Zeeble for VC the other day. It didn't work. I was confident in Gawn as captain or whoever it was, Gawn or Grundy. And I just thought, well, every man and his dog, has got something. I need to sort of do something different. Didn't work this time. But yeah, might be something I contemplate. Carl, thoughts on the Americans laying into Dean Boxall for toxic masculinity? Looked like a bloke wrapped to see his charge get up. Didn't look toxic to me. The poor steward trying to corral him. That is one of the best things I've ever seen. Oh, I loved it. It was outstanding. And the Americans can go and get stuffed, to be honest. I mean, come on. Of course, there's always some part of the world that's cranky about something. And I thought it was brilliant. Like you said, mate, I just thought it was a guy that was put 5 years into finding and getting that exact moment. And that's the sort of reaction it gets. He's a pretty emotional guy, like in terms of getting worked up in those moments. Nothing wrong with that. It was raw. It was uncensored emotion, passion. I think I love those moments. I thought it was great. So yeah, anyone who sort of wants to knock that can go get stuffed, in my opinion. Carl, Paddy Dow in Olympic form on the weekend. Shorty, yes. Yeah, a couple of sprayed kicks late cost the great man the chance to raise the bat. I know, he's looking okay, isn't he? Where was this in the first month, Paddy? Where the hell was it, mate? Oh, it is good to see him play some decent footy. Tell you who I think the Blues should go after, Charlie Constable. I reckon he'd be a beautiful selection for them. He's a guy that's crying out to be chucked in the centre bounce. The Cats, for whatever reason, don't want to. I know we do bat deep, but we just haven't given him any smidgen of hope that he could get a game at some point. So yeah, we're even forever trying to get Narkle out of the side. So, which he did keep his spot, didn't he? He's in the actual lineup now. Thank goodness for that. Jordan Clark in the emergencies. He's back. Nathan Kruger. He could be crucial down the track. DMAC. I have a luxury upgrade. Oh, I love that. Something I haven't had any sort of a look at. I get rid of Taranto or May. Get Bont in either way. I haven't really tracked those guys super close, so give me a moment to just have a look at some numbers. It's interesting, so much talk about Taranto as a selection, and I think most of us were hoping 105. And what is he? He's 96. It's amazing how it's just not easy to average 105, is it? In preseason it seems so doable. Even in his first 10 weeks, it seemed very doable. But yeah, his last three haven't been crash hot, have they? Steve May. All right, I'm going to make this decision purely on his centre bounce attendance. I think he's a better chance to really have a big day out, Taranto. Still think he's slightly better chance, but my only query will be is if he's not sort of getting that time in the middle that maybe I presume he does. Melbourne, how many kick-ins? May 5, played on 5 times. And the Giants, when did they play? Here they are. Taranto, 2 centre bounces. Okay, see ya. Taranto, you're gone. Was there any reason for that? Was he injured? I've got no idea. Yeah, that makes that decision very easy. That says to me, a bit of a role change or something. Yeah, I'd be going Taranto on that front. It seems as if something is a little out of whack there. Hopefully that helped you in some way, mate. NJD, who will you be VCing? Probably McRae into Gawn, I would say. Because I feel like I'm getting a bit of a flavour of Jack Steele and McRae a little bit. So I might try and go a little bit different. Oh, wait, when do they play? I'm looking at the team lineups and I'm a bit confused in terms of the order of what they are doing there. Yeah, right. 12:20, except they're like the 4th and 3:10, and that's in Queensland. Okay. Yeah, I would say probably McRae into Gawn. Tyler, danger for captain. Man's gone off. Yeah, look, he's looking better. I just don't really get a sense that Geelong will be too up and about for this game. We just seem to rarely get up for these types of games. That's my only bit. You can't really knock his form. I think Joel Selwood will be out, so there might be more of a need for him to play inside. I'm not too sure, but Corey, Rory Laird VC could be a good option as a risky VC that can pay off. I do like that. The only thing I'd say with Laird is that I know he went massive last week, but are we sort of chasing that whopping score? I mean, historically, Laird is just a really consistent guy. Even this year, he's had a 144, a 132, a 129, a 125, and of course the outlier is that 178. But largely, he's between 90 and 120. So if you think he can back up last week, then be my guest. Leo, should I keep Taranto or trade him out for Hawkins or someone around 500? One trade left. Well, yes, as I just mentioned to the other fella, the 2 centre bounce attendance as well. That scares me right off. Didn't watch the game close, but that sort of screams to me like a bit of a slight role change. Tom Green maybe going in there more. Cal Ward sort of taking up a bit of that time. What do you say, around 500? Similar discussion to what we've had. You could look at DeGoey. Definitely look at Hawkins. I personally would go Rowan Marshall. I know I've sort of preached that a couple of times, but I understand the reasoning in not going him last week because he was missing. Where now, if it's open slather, then I would be going Rowan Marshall. I just think he's the best guy out of that lot. To get stuck into. Hawkins probably has a day out this week. I think Robbie Tarrant might be out. But yeah, Bob Rob, who is the biggest lock next year? Next year, will you be starting Nick Dacos? And yeah, that was close, Bob. That was close. I respect that. You keep trying, mate. You got to respect that. But who is the biggest lock next year? Oh, gee, James Sicily, maybe Matt Rowell if he sort of gets back to that main man sort of status in the engine room. They're probably two guys that jump off the sheet, but yeah, also Dacos. Yeah, I mean he looks ready to go, doesn't he? Absolutely ready to go. NJD, you're going to have to be on the ball if you're doing McRae and Gorn, not a large time gap between games. Yeah, good point. And I think you might have cued that, me actually realizing that. That's a fair point. And look, I'm working Saturday, so I might just keep it simple rather than stuffing around trying to figure out 3/4 time scores or whatever. So I might just do that now. The flavour's probably Jack Steele, but gee, he's bloody reliable, isn't he? I mean, you guys don't need to follow this thought process, but I'm kind of trying to get like some point of difference because I need to make up some points rather than just going with the flow. But yeah, it's hard. Steele, aside from last week, 145, 149, 154. Gosh. How about Sammy Walsh? I don't envision any tags for the Saints in terms of taggers. I mean, I guess Ed Kerno might do a defensive role. Stuff it. I'm going Walsh. I'm going to go Walsh. Purely point of difference thinking there. But that's what we're doing. Splishy, back Steele or Walsh? Wow, funny you say that because I was just thinking the exact same thing. Either's fine, mate. If I'm getting the sense that Steele, I mean, I know there's only a few comments here, but normally what you guys say is a small sample of what most people out there are thinking. So I'm getting the sense that 8 out of 10 people are going to go Steele. So if you want a little point of difference, if you're feeling lucky, because Walsh had that big 170, maybe was it 190? Can't remember. But he also had some 130 plus scores. So yeah, I think they're both going to be really quality options. Archer, what's going on, mate? I traded in Parrish. Oh, that kills me. My last trade for a captain option during finals, but do I put the C on him against Sydney over someone like McRae or Walsh? Definitely not. I mean, after last week, and I know he was tagged, but I mean, not the C. I mean, you might want to incorporate him to the VC if you can align the games properly, or however you kind of see that panning out. But I mean, he's every chance to go 140. Don't get me wrong, but when a guy has a game like last week, just makes you nervous. You know, a weakness is unveiled that he struggles with the tag. Is George Hewitt going to go straight to him? You know, because he's done that sort of a job before. So I wouldn't just go to C straight on him, mate. Yeah, maybe get creative on a VC, like you mentioned with Walsh, and I'd have a lot more faith in McRae, in my opinion. Jono, how are you, mate? G'day, Shorty. How are we? Thoughts on Cam Guthrie? Going all right, mate. How are you travelling? Cam Guthrie, without even looking at the numbers, I'll have a look in a moment, but as a Geelong supporter, he just hasn't quite returned to his absolute best earlier in the year. His numbers have started to come back, but he probably hasn't impacted the games quite in the same manner. And just looking at it now, that's probably represented in his scores. I mean, he's nicely priced with that 40, like 506 with a guy that's, really been dominant earlier in the year. But he's probably come back to the pack. I think rather than expecting him to return to his early season form, I think what we'll realise is that his early season form was the outlier, and now he's just returned to what will be averages in the early hundreds, I would imagine, rather than what was early in the season, sort of 115, 120. So if you're struggling for cash, then yeah, bring him in. But no, not one I'd rush at. Yes, it was perfect timing, Spishy. It really was. NJD, as a Sydney fan, Hewitt may well go tag Parish. Well, there you go. There you go. That's interesting insight there. What was I going to ask? As a Sydney fan, how do you expect Mills to return? Do you anticipate any tag coming his way, or just back into business as usual? G'day, Nick. G'day, Shorty. Hope you're well, mate. Got one trade left with 183 in the bank. Thinking of getting rid of Bramble for either Guthrie or Ridley via the DPP with, Jesus Christ, excuse me, with lead or, with lead. Your thoughts? Also, captaining, thinking Steele into Macrae. Nice. I like the option. I like Gawn or Macrae. Definitely understand that. In terms of your initial, hasn't Bramble been good? Me personally, I'm like, damn, and he's just sitting there. Great amount of coin. Can't do anything with him, So if you had 183, he's 345. What's that? That's about 530-ish, 528. I'll have a look. I mean, at that sort of price range, Guthrie's probably sick. If you could just load at any point in time, that'd be great. Guthrie probably, I know I didn't exactly pump him up just before, but price-wise, all depends what you can afford. So Guthrie might just be the best option in that range. Oh. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Oak is also a very safe option. I think he and Guthrie will average similar for the rest of the year. Look, if you want to point a difference, McCluggage, I think, is the sort of guy that, is going to be a little more unique if you felt you need that. But yeah, I think Guthrie and Boak would be your front runners on that. Some Supercoach guy. G'day, Shorty. What are your thoughts on a cheeky danger VC or another cheeky move with Neil, or just go standard with Macrae into Clary? I'm all for a bit of cheeky, mate. Always am. But look, it's horses for courses. How are you travelling? Are you looking to get a point of difference on your mate in a league grand final, or are you looking to climb up the rankings? Are you happy with where you're at? If you're happy with where you're at, I'd just go safe, just nice, boring Macrae into Clary, Steele into Gawn, something boring. Because sometimes boring is good. If it doesn't work out, most people fall on the same sword, and if it does, then you're all happy. If you need a point of difference, I like the cheeky options. NJD, Mills will be straight back in the midfield. Don't reckon he's quite worthy of a tag yet. Yeah, look, Mills is really interesting. Thanks for answering that, mate. Sort of guy that I am half tempted to start next year. Because I reckon, like he'll be expensive. Like he's averaged 113, but I feel as if, yeah, I don't know. I just think he's kind of like that next gen guy that we'll be looking at, like Petrarca, Steele, Walsh. Um, he's super consistent, and I don't know. You're the Swans expert, but I could only see him doing not so much better, but as a footballer, only getting more opportunity as Kennedy and Parker sort of drift into their twilights even further. So very interesting. Carl Boomers, Shorty, is this the year we medal? I really think it is, and I'm definitely no basketball expert, but we should definitely medal. I mean, we should still have some aspirations for gold, should we not? I mean, we've been pretty solid, some strong performances lifted, in some tight encounters, I think, against Nigeria, which, they're not a bad team, really kicked away, and against Italy, were tested for the most part and just sort of broke them. I mean, clearly the Americans are the one, and there are some other teams as well, but we've never medaled, and this has got to be the one. This has got to be the one. And we should be happy with whatever color medal there is, whatever color the medal is. But of course, we'd love gold. Perhaps more realistically, it might be bronze or silver. But gee, I'd love to play the Yanks in a big game, whatever it's for. Gee, I'd love to meet them. Massive build up. We got Ledecky. Gee, it'd be great to get another over the Yanks. Jono, I thought you would have been all over Guthrie selection, especially the Cats man. Oh, yeah. I mean, I try to sort of take the Cats man out of it. Of course, I love Guthrie as a footballer. But that's just my opinion as a totally unbiased super coach look. Having watched the Cats, he hasn't returned to his absolute best. And those scores reflect the guy that isn't impacting the game as much as he was earlier in the year. So if you can only afford early 500s, 520 like that other fella, then yeah, he's a great option in that price range. But, if you can afford a little bit more, and we're sort of starting to scroll up a little bit, I'm looking at Andrew Brayshaw. He's a sort of next gen guy. I was talking next gen guys. Got to think about him next year, I reckon. Josh Kelly's sitting there at 530. So Lockie Neal sitting there. Did he score 64? What the hell? People were talking about locks for next year. Lockie Neal will be that guy. You got Jared Lyons, 116 average for the year. He's at 556. So, there are options for just a little extra. All depends how much you can afford at the end of the day. Carl, been good to see Trash Bloke Zorko, the magnificent, crash back to earth with a thud the last few weeks. Late justice. Yeah, that is true. I've only seen a couple of his scores. How is he going? Obviously, not quite to the heights. And as you say, a few weeks, I'm expecting, 74, even the one, probably his last month hasn't been tops, has it? So, yeah, I wonder if Steel Sidebottom, that was sort of the selection, the versus. I mean, clearly Zorko has been the far better selection to this point. But hey, maybe Sidebottom can just finish nicely now that he'll get a bit more mid-time. Maybe it might look a little bit better, but been a good return by Zorko. I mean, I talk these next-gen guys, and I got to be careful. I get too excited about these blokes. I never just trust the guys that do it year in, year out. I always look for this next-generation superstar. Jai Simpkin kills me, but I can't help it. Andrew Brayshaw, big time on that front. Hugh McCluggage, big time on that front. Yeah, it's so interesting to discuss, but we'll do all that in preseason, I'm sure. Carl, he's no Paddy Wow, that's for sure. These Paddy selections, he'll live with me for a long time, old Paddy Wow. how about Harry Schomburg too? Little shout out to Harry. If you do remember way back in my uniques video, I mentioned Mills, I mentioned somebody else, but Schonberg was one guy that I said just keep an eye on him, and he hasn't had a good year. Would have been a shocker if you started with him, but he's reeled off 390s, high centre bounce attendance. I just wonder, could he be a guy next year that gets forward eligibility? You know, averages 95 for the last 6 weeks or 7 weeks. I just wonder. Just keep him on your radar. James, hey, Shorty, love the channel. A bit off topic, but did you see Essendon dropped hooker? Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Always happy to go off topic, mate. Of course, Supercoach isn't quite in the hot spot as it normally is in those first half of the year, but that's interesting. Dropped. Wow. That's, yeah. I must admit, I saw his name there when I was scrolling through. I just presumed he was injured, but didn't read the old brackets. Wow, that's interesting. Now tell me, are you a Bombers man? Was he playing forward mainly? So he's possibly gone out for Langford, different structure, or was he playing? No, he wasn't playing back because they've got Ridley and Francis has come in. Bring me up to speed. Let me know. But that's definitely interesting. Very interesting. And Carl again, Neil copped attention. Young Flanders, I think, was off his tucker, rattled. Yeah, that's very interesting. Lockie Neal just averaging 100 for the year, and he goes into that lock category, doesn't he? And there's been reasons for it, but I'm just thinking about my midfield next year. You know, like you'd have to think that Neal's in there, and you know Neal's 28. Cripps is going to be 27 or something like that next year. Could we dare go down the Cripper path? I wonder, but I must admit, I am looking forward to next year. I mean, the heat does go out of the Supercoach season, not quickly, but I always say, you know, the footy season goes from March to September or whatever, but the peak Supercoach interest, it almost really starts at November and runs to probably June if you're lucky. I reckon I always think around that buy period, it makes or breaks a lot of people. So yeah, something to think about. It's always interesting with my channel, I reckon. But if you got any ideas for what you'd like to see over summer, I'm all ears. I'm sort of thinking it's been tough with lockdowns and visitors and all this shit, but I would like to do more goal kicking videos and even like table tennis video, just sort of fun stuff like that, bit of competition. But yeah, if you got anything you'd like to see, I'm all ears. James, yeah, I am an Essendon man. I think it might mean they won't give him a contract going forward. And yeah, Francis played forward in the Magoos. Ah, interesting. Because I did see that Francis on the team sheet means probably very little was named at full back. But as you say, that's they've named James Stewart at centre half forward, and he's been playing back. So bit of funny buggers there. Well, I'd love to pick your brain then. As a Bombers man, I've got Nick Hind in draft. Just wondering what's been going on. Is he a little bit off? Is he not getting the same run and carry? I'd love to hear your thoughts and just give Shorty some strength. I'd love you to be barracking hard for Nick Hind on the weekend just for Shorty's sake. I would love that. It's definitely the one thing I want to salvage from a not so good Supercoach year. Hey, Mitchy boy, what's going on? How are you? Big Shawnee Higgins back in town, mate. You must be excited. NJD, if Danger gets a full preseason, would you consider starting him next year? Very interesting. I think he's shown that when he's fully fit, he's still a raging bull. He's insane at the contest. if Cameron plays a full year, then Danger's really not going to play forward much at all. So the only thing I'd say is Dangerfield's foot skills were never his strength, but as the years have gone on and he gets older, they seem to be dropping off even just a smidgen more. So he probably, what's the overall average? It'd have to be not over 110, would it? Did he have any? Did he have an injury affected game? I think he did. I think he did. Yeah, that's 66. 111. Okay, it's 111. I guess he had that 184, 165. Probably not. For a guy who's going to be 32 or thereabouts, I'd probably need to be getting a little bit of value. Yeah. Interesting though. He's a walk up. In quotations. Did Chris Scott say that? Please confirm if he said that. Jesus, bro. We're in trouble if he's thinking that, mate. NJD, what do you reckon of this point of difference selection next year? Charlie Curnow will be sub 300 and with a bit of luck could be a bit of a cash cow. Oh, I don't know. Key forwards with a lengthy injury history that aren't that cheap. I don't know. It's got probably too much risk about it. He'd need to be sort of around your early 200s for me to contemplate that. If he comes back and has a couple of stinkers, he might be pretty affordable. But I'm all for names at the moment. I'm all for any name at the minute. So it's good to discuss. James, I wouldn't jump off Nick Hines' bandwagon just yet, mate. Good to hear. Essendon's ball movement has been putrid the last 2 weeks. He will bounce back. I like that. And I know he had a ripper game against the Swans. Might have been last year, I think. I remember him just running, gunning for about 4 bounces. But hopefully he can return to a bit of that stuff. Mitch, Chris Scott did say that about Dalhouse too. Am I on another planet? Like, if he is a walk-up start, if both of those pricks are a walk-up start, I don't have a clue about footy. I'm sorry. I don't know what they're watching sometimes. And this is not a new gripe of mine. I normally back in the coaching staff, but I'm sorry. Sean Higgins look washed. He looks washed to me. He's the Rolls Royce that can't hit targets. And Luke Dalhouse, the bloke gets ragdolled constantly. I'll be fair, he had a ripping game 2 weeks ago and he was solid last week. So he does deserve his spot at the moment. I don't see why Sean Higgins has to come back. And Dalhouse, look, he's going all right. Myers is out. I get that. But he's still... Sometimes I ask myself, can these guys impact a final? Can I see these guys having a genuine say in a prelim? The answer is a flat no. NJD, the only reason I mentioned Curnow is because he may be a bit like Danaher this year. Yeah, that's a good point. And, Joey, I guess you'd say Joe, in the end, really didn't service the purpose we wanted. It probably depends how patient you were. You went 54, 73, 84, 34, 121, 82, 101, 91, 84, 91. So, if you put those first 5 weeks and you swap them for the next 4 or 5, it's a different story. But to your point, injury riddled, and he's played basically a full year to date. So, like I said, open to all ideas, mate. That's some shrewd thinking. James, hey Shorty, do you see currency for Constable at a club who could use mid-depth? Funny you say that, mate. I mentioned him earlier, whether you're on board or not, but I think he'll be a ripping selection for Carlton. And look, I understand Constable has his deficiencies. He's a bit slow, maybe not a damaging kick. But to me, he's a poor man's Josh Kennedy. If he was Josh Kennedy, he'd be playing AFL, but he's not. I think he's not a bad version, though. He's tall. There's no doubt he can find the footy. That's not a question. Clearance king. I don't know. It frustrates me that he can't even get a little bit of opportunity. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to another club and And yeah, he's not going to win the Brownlow. He's probably not even going to, dominate regularly. But I see him as a clearance guy that's important for a team that needs it. So, yeah, I definitely think so. Carl Higgins looks cooked, and Dalhouse has degenerative knee issues. Well, yeah. I mean, I like to at least give the youngsters a chance. People think about omitting guys like it's a death sentence. There's nothing wrong going back to the twos, particularly for Sean Higgins, in my opinion. Jack, what's up? Sean Higgins or
Sean
me?
Higgins, both.
Sean Higgins belongs in the twos, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Not much, you.
You just come in and sit on my bed or what?
Yeah.
Huh? What? Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so Langers.
I don't even think Langers is on it.
Oh, fair enough. Langers is a cheat. He's
Put it in the group, bro.
Huh?
Oh. Yeah, bring it up.
Yeah.
Controversial.
So thoughts on Cockatoo? He's playing this week.
Is he? Nice.
Guarantee it. I'm 95% sure he's playing.
Yeah. I think he'd be a good option. If he stays fit. Explosive.
He is fit.
That's what people used to say about me. Explosive.
He looks better than he did Geelong. Like
Yeah?
This was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he never really got going at Geelong.
Yeah, nah. Medical staff, pretty average shit.
Jog on, bro. Jog on. What movie are we watching? The Wasp one? You trying to break my fucking wall, man?
Yeah, no, the Wasp.
Putting your fist through me wall?
Bed's low. Fuck.
Damn right, slow.
It's good so you can't hear you squeaking on it.
What? No one cares about Supercoach anymore. Get out of here, Zach. No one cares about Winch.
Supercoach is running with the next 6 months. Well, by the way, everyone, all the boys like love Supercoach at school, and then I told them, "Do surely?" They said no.
They didn't know who I was. Oh, that hurts my ego, bro. NJD, and would you consider starting as a Hawes defender next year? Yeah, definitely. I mean, if he's in the same role, it just looks like the cruisiest role of all time. He rebounds well, uses it pretty nicely too. So I definitely would. Mitch, when Dalhouse takes a shot from 35 and he wheels around on the arc that he can't make the distance, that's sad. And Anthony Nakaya Morabito Cockatoo. Isn't that a throwback? Yeah, Dalhouse does me head in. He can barely kick over a jam tin, so it's a bit frustrating. And it definitely would hurt if Cockatoo tore it up, particularly against the Cats. I hope he goes all right, but he just couldn't get it right at the Cats, could he? Just couldn't get it right. But look, I think if you've got any sort of final questions, I've just worked through them all just there. We're just about working our way to the hour. If you've got any final questions, feel free to throw them my way. But I think I'll do a little video tomorrow. There's a video up right now just about me and Langers talking trash about Supercoach draft. A few photos of the trophy, just a bit of me time. But yeah, otherwise, I think the weekend preview will basically... I don't know, running out of ideas. Probably it's probably going to be just captaincy, and yeah, I'm not sure. Every year I sort of have these head-scratching moments of how to kind of try and keep things interesting, but probably the live session is almost way more important than a video previewing the weekend, because we talk about most of it here. Pick number 4 he was, wasn't he? What a career that could have been, yeah. Probably his best moment was that goal against Hawthorn in the final, I reckon. That was sort of when I thought, Jesus, this bloke's going to be something. But, yeah, just cruelled by injury, wasn't he? Very disappointing. But, yeah, look, I might wind it up. I had a little bit of dinner beforehand, but I must say I'm a bit peckish again. So I might go raid the cupboard. Hopefully we watch some more Aussies knock a few more gold medals out. I think the Hockey Roos are on tonight. So it'll be good to watch that against the Kiwis. Otherwise, might just chuck on a movie or something like that. Back to work tomorrow. So nothing too exciting there. But James Parfitt is future jet for you blokes. Yeah, he's a solid. I think he's been around for a while. He's been around for a little bit, but yeah, he's a bloody good clearancer, and his tackling crazy good. Carl, would you compare yourself more to Catters, one Gary Ablett or Eddie Betts, shorty? Look, more of an Eddie Betts type, mate. Just dangerous around the goals. Bit of a silky forward pocket. They used to chuck me on the wing. I'm not a good runner. Get me off the wing. Junior days was defender, just a dour defender. But thanks, guys. I thank you all for tuning in. It's always a good bit of fun. I'll be back soon enough. We'll try and go live next week as we always do. And yeah, stay safe. Have a good weekend. And Barrack hard. Cheers, guys.